Welcome to the first ever Burn City Suns Talk Short. My name is Brendan Mao, and alongside me is Damian Adams. And Damian, we got some big news today as Deandre Ayton was traded away for the Suns as part of a three-team deal. He was traded along with Suns rookie Toumani Camara to the Blazers, and in exchange, the Suns brought in Jusuf Nurkić from the Blazers, as well as uh, Grayson Allen from the Bucks and Nassir Little from the Blazers, as well as Keon Johnson from the Blazers. And then the big part of it is Damian Lillard is going to the Bucks. So, Damian, what are your thoughts on the trade?
So let's start from the Suns' perspective since this is a Suns podcast. And from the Suns' perspective, I thought that this was a downgrade. The main part of the trade is getting Jusuf Nurkić in exchange for Deandre Ayton. Deandre Ayton is a young, middle of his 20s center who gave you 18 points and 10 rebounds a game last season. You trade him for Jusuf Nurkić, who's giving you 13 points, 9 rebounds, who's also had injury issues. DeAndre Ayton's played damn near 40 more games than Nurkic has over the last 3 years. And Nurkic is getting older. That's only going to get worse. So I don't see how this is an upgrade at all. Nurkic at one point in his career was known as a defensive center. He hasn't been that the last couple of years. So you're not even getting an upgrade on the defensive end. And my thing is, if you're going to trade Ayton, at least get an upgrade on the defensive end where you have now that interior protector to protect the rim when things break down on the perimeter, but you don't even have that. As far as getting Grayson Allen, I like that part of the trade. I think Grayson Allen does fit in well with this team as far as a 3-and-D guy. He's somebody who can shoot a three at a high clip, shot it at almost 40% last season. He's somebody who plays decent defense, especially man-to-man as far as staying in front of his man before they get to the rim. So he's a good addition. The other two players are kind of just salary fillers who may get time here and there, but they're not going to be big parts of the rotation. So I think that Grayson Allen is honestly maybe the best part of this trade. And if he's the best part of a trade that you have where you give up a former one overall pick in DeAndre Ayton, it's just not enough in my opinion. Do you think I'm being a little too harsh on this trade for the Suns?
Um, yeah, I mean, I like what you said about Grayson Allen. I mean, he's known as a villain, but I don't know if that's what this team needs, but he's only making 8.5 million this year, so he's not on a big contract. He gives you that fifth starter, and all in all, like if you add up the numbers, the four players combined to make just more than Aiton. And I also like the two other guys I got. I don't know if Keon Johnson specifically will make the team uh, because the Suns have 17 players on their roster now. So two of them are going to have to go by the end of training camp. So it's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, like you said, Aiden and Nurkic are two. I don't know how to. They're hard to compare because, like you said, Nurkic was known as a defensive center, but now he's dealing with injury problems. But there is an argument to be made that he could be a role player for the Suns rather than Aiden, who wants to be a offensive weapon for the Suns instead of buying into that role of a defensive stopper and rebounder, which Nurkic will give them that if he's healthy. That's the big thing with him is if he's healthy. Because now they have the two Blazers centers from last year, Nurkic and Eubanks. So overall, for the Suns, I I just think it's going to be seen. I think getting Grayson Allen is the biggest part of the trade, in my opinion, over Nurkic, and I think will help the team out more than Nurkic. But if you're going to get four players, I think that they should have gotten a point guard as well because that's a need that the team has. So I like what they got, but I'm like 50-50 on it, honestly.
Now, you make a great point about having a point guard. Right now, they don't have a backup point guard per se. And it's funny because I was writing an article right before the trade went down where I was talking about some of these potential trades that the Suns could do for DeAndre Ayton to bring you inside the world of sports writing. And I published it and literally had to delete it right afterwards because the news came out about the trade. But in that article, I was talking about how Nurkic, in my opinion, was a downgrade. And the Indiana Pacers, we all know, shown strong interest in DeAndre Ayton in the past, right? Last offseason, when he was a restricted free agent, they signed him to a 4-year, $133 million offer that, of course, was matched by the Suns. So I would gauge if the Pacers were still interested in him, and maybe you get a Miles Turner along with TJ McConnell, who would be an excellent backup point guard, to go back to your point about that. Also, another trade I was looking at, maybe the Cleveland Cavaliers. Jared Allen disappointed last year in the playoffs offensively, but he is a very good defensive center. They were number one ranked in defense last year, and a big part of that was because of him anchoring that defense. Maybe you get him along with someone like Isaac Okoro from the Cavaliers, and that can help you out. I just don't think that this was the best deal for Ayton, unless no other team was willing to give up a good center and Nurkic was the best option. I just think that if Nurkic was the best option, you were better set staying pat and having this roster as is. I do like Grayson Allen, but I don't think that's a good enough piece to trade away for that.
Yeah, and what do you think now about the Suns' title hopes? Specifically, with Milwaukee is now the favorite, landing Damian Lillard, and just to go further on the trade, they also traded Jrue Holiday to the Blazers, and he's likely to be traded from Portland. There's reports that they're looking to trade him right away, and they traded a first round pick, an unprotected first round pick in 2029, and swap rights in 2028 and 2030. So for the Bucks, I think in my opinion, for the Bucks, I feel like it could be similar, not to the extent of this, but Dallas, like when they gave up defense for landing Kyrie, I think that defense is the hallmark of Milwaukee. So Damian Lillard and Jrue Holiday are drastically different defensively, and obviously offensively, Damian Lillard is one of the top offensive players in the league. So, in my opinion, I think it'll be the same Bucks. They'll just have that new dynamic weapon that they can throw at you. I don't think it. I don't think it drastically improves them, in my opinion.
I gotta disagree with you on that one, Brendan. When you look at Jrue Holiday, you're definitely correct. Jrue Holiday is miles better defensively than Damian Lillard, right? But Damian Lillard is so much better offensively than Jrue Holiday. And like, just imagine it, right? Pick and roll, Damian Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo. You got Chris Middleton on the side, Brook Lopez on the other side. How do you defend that? How do you decide what to try to stop? Because you can't stop it all. So do you decide to try to stop Giannis at the rim, which of course is the first option because you don't want to give up dunks and layups. But then you have Damian Lillard who can come off and hit a three from anywhere, right? Him and Steph Curry are the best shooters when it comes to distance. He can do that from anywhere. Chris Middleton can score from pretty much anywhere. Brook Lopez has shown himself to be a very, very good three-point shooter. Like, they have a lineup that may be the best offense in the NBA. The only team that can really compete with them offensively may be the Phoenix Suns. So when you look at a team like that, and they still have very good defenders, right? You mentioned Jrue Holiday being one of the best defensive point guards ever, pretty much, leaving the team. But you still have Giannis, who is going to be in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation every year. Brook Lopez was in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation last season. Chris Middleton, when healthy, is a good defender. So I still think that defense of integrity is still there for them, unlike Dallas, who gave up all their good defenders pretty much when they got Kyrie Irving. That's why I have to disagree with you on that point. But I think the Bucks definitely are the favorites now. But the Suns, because they're in the Western Conference, still shouldn't be too shook by it because their road to the finals, they don't have to go through Milwaukee. They just have to deal with Milwaukee maybe in the finals.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that. Like I said, I don't think in my opinion, I think the Bucks, even though they lost in the first round last year, I still think they had a championship roster before this trade. So, I mean, I still think they have a championship level roster. I just don't see well, have to see how they, especially because Jrue Holiday's been there so long. If they can mold together quickly, but like you said, the Suns are like the only team that rivals them offensively, or in the starting five for that matter. So, if you compare the two starting fives, which one do you think has the upper hand?
I would have to go with the Bucks because of the center position. I would definitely like Magic Brook Lopez on this Suns team. and how well he would fit in because he spaces the floor, because he protects the rim. And Nurkic doesn't do that. Neither. So because of that, I have to go with the Bucks because they have a big three, just like the Suns do. But that X factor is that center position where Brook Lopez, I believe, is much better than Jusuf Nurkic right now.
Yeah, I I mean I think that's the guy that the Suns should say, okay, Yusuf, you have to play like this guy because he's gonna have a similar role to Brook Lopez on the Suns, and we're seeing Nurkic can spread the floor too, so it'll be interesting if the Suns can add that layer to their offense, which they didn't have with Ayton. So I don't know. All
Yeah,
in all, it's
Nurkic, he's
go
splurged.
ahead.
He splurged a little bit and spreading the floor. I still don't trust his 3-point shot the way I trust Brook Lopez's 3-point shot.
Yeah. So I mean, to cap it off, I just want to reminisce about Deandre Ayton's time in the Valley. I mean, now the Suns, the only player left from their 2021 Finals run team is Devin Booker, which is just mind blowing to think about. I mean,
Yeah.
we're entering like 2 seasons removed from that, so um, it's hard to grasp that, and the fact that DeAndre Ayton was a homegrown kid that played his high school ball in Phoenix, went to Arizona, was drafted #1 overall by the Suns. And he's given a lot of good memories to the Suns, even though he's been the center of trade talks for what feels like a couple of years now. He's overall his time in the Valley is unforgettable in my opinion. He's one of the faces of the team in the past few years, and I mean, I was looking forward to seeing what he could do this year with Frank Vogel. I know Frank Vogel even said that he was. So we'll have you covered from the next week or so in training camp with media day starting on Monday. It's going to be eventful. So
Not for sure. It'll definitely be eventful. To piggyback off your comments about Dre Ayton, he definitely was a success here in Phoenix. It ended short for, normally you want your #1 overall pick to be a lifer with your team, but to have a finals appearance and to have several appearances in the playoffs where you guys were championship contenders, you have to say that was a success. And for Ayton now, I look forward to see what he can do in Portland, where he'll be the #1 and #2 option on that team. So now we get to see if he can get up to 24, 25 points a game. This guy can be dependent on plus situations. He'll be tested a lot this year in Portland. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens there.
yeah, and just going off me and Damian, we should have our first ever podcast up next week. So be on the lookout for that. As always, we'll keep you updated on social media. You can check out the latest stories. We're going to have stories all day on Deandre Ayton on BurnCitySports.com. You can follow us on Twitter. Our podcast is at Burn City Suns. And then for Burn City Sports in general, all of our social media handles are just at Burn City Sports. So be sure to give us a follow. Check out our stories. Let us know what you think. And for now, just stay tuned because we'll have a lot more coverage coming with the Suns season just around the corner and media day on Monday and training camp starting the following day on Tuesday up until the Suns' first preseason game on October 8th.